1918 to 1939 saw Britain vaguely hoping for total peace, almost totally unprepared for the return of war, wishful thinking, optimistic, more interested in football than frontiers, deaf to the raucous warnings and blind to the disgusting apparitions in the German arenas. Newsreel pictures of those tribal war dances in Berlin and Nuremberg should have been warning enough that bullying and blackmail and war upon the weak were the Nazis' favorite sports. We saw, but few of us could believe. And like most of the rest of the world, we can only plead guilty. Until 11 o'clock on September the 3rd, 1939. Since then, Britain has been fighting. Keeping faith with Poland, Britain declared war on Germany. The first of the few nations to have done so, by the way. We were unprepared, but we had a navy, a small air force, and an expeditionary force which the navy promptly took safely across the channel. There followed a lull on land, though never at sea, and some even said we weren't really fighting at all. Then Hitler seized Denmark and Norway. Britain fought, but failed. Then Hitler struck again. French armies melted, and the BEF, fighting as it went, was driven back into the sea. Small craft, yachts and saucy Janes rescued over 300,000 men, of whom a third were Allied troops. All were to fight on in these islands, as we thought then, with or without weapons. France capitulated, and the signing of the Armistice, a melodramatic reconstruction on Hitler's part of 1918 in reverse, shattered our system of defense in Europe and the East.
Should the invader come to Britain, there will be no placid lying down of the people in submission before him, as we have seen, alas, in other countries. We shall defend every village, every town, and every city.
Really, of course, the war was lost. But to the people of Britain, except a few defeatists here and there, the very idea was absurd. Besides, we had an air force, small but brilliantly efficient and well armed, and when Goering sent his experts over, the RAF shot them down, once 185 in one day. These are a few of the few who saved us from immediate defeat in that summer of 1940. All the same, we were almost unarmed and alone when Germany came in for the kill. For us, the war was not so phony. Civilians were blotted out in tens of thousands. Hundreds of thousands lost everything they had. One house in every 5 throughout the land has been destroyed or damaged. Yes, the British civilian was certainly at war. So was the British seaman. In spite of dive bombing and long-range shelling, our convoys still went through the channel. Only later, when German warships ran through with a big air umbrella, did the world express surprise. British soldiers were also at war. One army of about 30,000 men fighting under Wavell, thousands of miles from home, took over 133,000 prisoners in 62 days. 133,000 prisoners plus all their equipment. Well, forevermore. By this time, we'd really got down to work in the factories, too. For the bulk of our weapons, to replace those lost in France and Belgium, and for our new armies, we had to rely on ourselves. America, still technically neutral, helped us with food and arms, which the Royal Navy and the Merchant Navy brought across in the face of desperate shortages and dangers, warding off the constant threat of our communications being cut. More than a year and a half of our war had passed when Hitler struck again, this time to the east. With all that secret preparation and all that open ferocity which have so endeared Germany to the world, fascist armies invaded Russia, expecting to knock out the Soviet in a few weeks. Stalin and the Soviet people had quite a different idea. and what an ally they have proved.
Any man or state who fights against Nazism will have our aid. Any man or state who marches with Hitler is our foe. That is our policy, and that is our declaration. It follows, therefore, that we shall give whatever help we can to Russia and to the Russian people.
In December, Japan improved upon even Mussolini's backstabbing technique. One result was disaster, Pearl Harbor. The other, well, America was in. Can Japan hope to get away with it? Listen.
What kind of a people do they think we are? Is it possible they do not realize that we shall never cease to persevere against them until they have been taught a lesson which they and the world will never forget?
More weapons, more guns and shells and tanks, and above all, more aircraft. Once again, the tempo of production rose incredibly. Our losses had been heavy on every front. While we were our own severest critics, we also fought the enemy to the maximum of our increasing power. The RAF carried the war by day into enemy-occupied France and into Germany by night. Germany. As for the front in the Middle East, this is how we were supplied. A route 10,000 miles longer than the direct way through the Mediterranean. Chivalrous aid to Greece and failure to follow up Wavell's victory had cost us dear. But Malta still held out. Victims of more bombing than any other people on earth, the people of Malta defied Hitler and his airmen. And the Royal Navy, in the face, succeeded in keeping Malta supplied. While the cry for a second front grew more shrill, we were steadily building up our strength in Egypt. And we were steadily fulfilling all our promises of aid to Russia. 3,000 aircraft, 4,000 tanks, 30,000 vehicles, and nearly 1 million tons of other goods, all in 1 year. As a matter of fact, 80% of our war production has been shipped overseas. Also, every fighting man for whom shipping space could be found. Recently, they have sailed in company with the American Expeditionary Force. This was safely convoyed in literally hundreds of ships, largely by the Royal Navy. And the situation has been transformed. Synchronizing with that Anglo-American move in the Western Mediterranean and designed to link up with it from the east came the breakthrough by General Montgomery's 8th Army. At last we saw the victorious advance of United Kingdom, Empire and Allied troops across those battlefields of Egypt and Libya where hope and disappointment had alternated so long. This time, Rommel was out-generaled and out-fought. He went so fast even the Italians couldn't keep up. Now, too, there began the softening up of Italy. Milan, Turin, Naples, Genoa, and other cities the selected targets. The RAF made a film record of one of the smashing attacks on Genoa. This is it, taken at the height of the raid, when flares, HE, and incendiaries lit up the place like daylight. An impressive warning of things to come, if Italy chooses to continue on the fascist path of treachery and cruelty. Today, united, we plan to throw a noose round Hitler's neck, and we intend to pull it tight. To that end, no Briton has fought more tirelessly than Winston Churchill, whose energy and leadership inspires us all. And now, having covered 3 years of Britain's war in 10 minutes, British Movietone News wishes the best of good luck to everyone this new year. To the services, for there are none to compare with them, and the workers, whose output has been proportionately greater than that of any people in the world, ally or enemy. There are undoubtedly tough days and reverses ahead, but at the end of 1942, the most consoling thought about the war is that we are beginning to win it.